I'm getting sexy. All right, so I want to wrap up this first 4-turn scenario from Chancellorsville, Pinnacle of Victory, the Zion Church scenario. I guess it's designed to get you into the game. And like I said before with the first video shot, that I'd opened this thing a couple times, looked at it, and it just, I don't know what it was. I thought maybe it was the map was just throwing me off. I wasn't real positive about it, but now that I've actually played on it, it's actually pretty simple, and it works. The woods are the only thing that kind of freak me out because they look like little plowed fields like you see in other games with little scraggly lines. All right, so the deal with this scenario was the red X was the objective for the Union. They needed to take that red X, all right? And they start over on the edge of the map. Lift that up a little bit. So they start over in there on the edge of the map. A couple of them start up that way, and I think some come in behind here, which you'll see them sitting with. I never even brought them in because they would have never reached the fight. So, now unless I was just not either executing properly or I wasn't being aggressive enough, you can see the Union never even got anywhere near this. So one of the boo-boos was maybe moving this division from 5th Corps along the road up here to come down, because that's as far as they got in 4 turns of movement. All right, and that's with 2 movement phases, which I didn't talk about in the first video, and we will here. So I don't know if this one can be done. Maybe there's something I'm missing. You would have to just drive straight on and melee everything you possibly could. But that being said, the Confederates started out front up here, not back here in there. They're in breastworks right here, improved positions. I decided to fight out there with them, and it wasn't very bloody. I think maybe 4 total step losses, maybe 6 total step losses between melee and fire combat. Using what they call the commitment rule to enter an enemy zone of control. You have two ways you could enter an enemy zone of control. In using just the base rules, you can just use an extra movement point to get into a zone of control. Or you can toss that and use the commitment system, which is more realistic, according to what the designer's notes say, where you roll against their commitment value, and if you are equal to or less than the unit's commitment value, they can move in. It doesn't cost you any extra movement points, okay? So I chose that because that would make sense that units might freak out and not want to drive in there, not want to get up in the face of the enemy, okay? So that was one thing. The other thing is each side has 2 movement phases. You have an initial movement phase, which is where you get into your zones of control, and then it's followed up by fire combat, and then followed up by melee, okay? And then after both sides have gone through their normal sequence, you have an operational movement phase, which is called, operational movement phase, where you can move all units that aren't in a zone of control, their full movement allowance, but they cannot enter a zone of control, okay? There's a little certain rules to it, like I think if you're disordered, you can't. I never had that case, but like I say, as you can see here, the 1st Division of 5th Corps, they never even got here to these breastworks to fight McLaws. So I don't know if this scenario is just too short on time, because apparently shortly after, what it says in the scenario notes is that the remainder of Jackson's force showed up and pretty much caused this Union attack to not go any farther. So, but even without that, I don't know if I can see how these guys can drive to this point, even with the numbers they have against McLaws and Anderson here. I don't see how they could have done it, because you got 5th Corps and then you got a full 2 divisions of the 12th Corps, but I couldn't get enough going on in the attack. I don't know. Maybe I should try this one again and be extremely aggressive. I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of those ones too that when I'm setting up an attack, bad odds are not something you want to do, because you're going to take a beating. But you know what? I would assume that those bad combat choices happened a lot during the American Civil War, as any other war or battle that was fought. And sometimes I'm learning in other games that I play that sometimes you got to take that risk if you want to reach your objective. You might have no choice. Another game that I'm playing right now, which you'll see later, is I'm running into that right now with one side. So, but yeah, so you got 2 movement phases. It's funny because I commented something on YouTube that put a comment there about it's nice to see how Berg's train of thought changed with each different game as he kept building up to the current GBACW system. And now what the guys are doing with GBACW is just phenomenal. It's a good system, and these guys are just making it better. So if you're not playing any GBACW, I recommend you get something and play it, especially if you like Civil War and to a tactical scale. It's really nice. All right, so the defender, the non-phasing player, when he gets fired on during the phasing player's fire segment, offensive fire, then the defending player fires back. This is where Berg pushed this into GBACW, where it's kind of simultaneous. The difference is in this one is if a unit fires on, so if this unit here fires on that unit there, he can return fire to him. In the newer GBACW, this guy here, if he didn't have another enemy unit in his frontal hex, he could have also returned fire. All right. Now, you can stack, but it creates a mass target. And if you're stacked, only the top unit can fire unless there's artillery in the hex with an infantry unit. Then the artillery and the infantry can both fire. And in certain cases, they can combine fire. Artillery at point blank range is doubled. The defender, in returning fire, he cannot return fire with artillery at more than point blank range. So if this guy here shoots at this stack, that artillery and the infantry can fire and the artillery be doubled at him. But if these guys were not, he would not be able to shoot. Now, they have an artillery fire phase where the one player shoots and the other player shoots. I've seen that in a lot of games, okay? Artillery in this game, I can't say it was effective at all. And granted, I don't have much going on here. So I didn't really get much out of the artillery fire scheme. Plus, these units are already reduced because what it was is they were batteries that were split up, and they already start off reduced, like as if they've had 2 step losses. Top unit can only fire, and the commitment for any zone control are very big keys to this. So what I've learned now is that you can play the Chancellorsville game, May 2nd and 3rd, starts at 5 p.m. on May 2nd, and it ends, I think, at noon on the 3rd. You can actually play it. The game has 3 maps. It stretches from Fredericksburg over to here. You can actually play this on one map. So I think what I'm going to do is, now that this one's done, we're going to take this map out. We're going to put I think it's the middle map. It's the Chancellorsville map. I think we're going to put that down and play the Battle of Chancellorsville. It's 13 turns. So, I mean, that's not killer. And the process of moving units and doing combat is fairly simple in this game. Step loss, you might get disordered. Terrain modifiers are pretty simple in this game. Facing's pretty simple in this game. Column shifts for firing into the rear. Column shifts for meleeing into the flank. The terrain you're in shifts. You have elite units. I don't think there's any on this map right now. But elite units will have, next to their strength marker, which is the strength number, which is the first one, it'll have an asterisk just to the top and right of it. So that marks them as an elite unit, and those guys get benefits. And your morales go from good to poor to broken. So when you lose 1 step on your full strength side, you're still in good morale. When you lose the second step and you get reduced, you go to poor morale. If you lose another step on your reduced side, you're down to 1 step, you become in a broken state. And you're pretty much pretty useless there. And we do got 1 unit right here that was reduced knocked to his reduced side, and he's in a poor state of morale. So he will suffer some bad effects. All right, so now let's wrap this thing up. Clash of Arms, Chancellorsville, Pinnacle of Victory. Probably going to set up the Chancellorsville battle itself. I'm not going to lie, simple as this is, this is fun. I actually enjoyed this. For something, you know me, I like to play the big deep rule thingies, well to an extent. I mean, GBACW is still my all-time favorite. But this was fun, fairly lightweight, just enough detail. And I kind of like the counters. They got a couple colors that are off, I think. They got one of the Anderson's units, unless he was detached or something. They've got him in the color of McLaws, the green, when Anderson's stuff was a baby blue up here. So, all right, so let's get this thing down. If you got it, take a look at it. If you've played it which I haven't heard anybody say that they've played it or not yet. I have to look at my comments on YouTube again. But if you have played it, let me know what you thought of it and what you got out of the game. And I'm going to get into Chancellorsville. All right, talk to y'all soon.